No, not the biblical New Testament Last Supper, but a tribute to the many final feasts, the farewell tours in the music industry. And there have been many, and it must be said equally many false farewells. For example, I have a DVD of the Eagles farewell tour gig in Melbourne, Australia from 2005, which is brilliant in all respects and would be a very fitting farewell, but the Eagles are still planning a further final tour in 2024. That's 19 years later, albeit with one change of personnel enforced by the death of founder member Glenn Frey in 2016, his place now being taken by his son Deacon. So the music genes are still Eagle genes. But of course, the farewell tour is a piece of crafty marketing, especially if you can repeat it with a few years' grace in between. I went to see Scottish folk singer and later West End musical theatre star Barbara Dickson at the Glass House in Gateshead recently. She has played the venue before, and to no one's surprise, it was sold out for her final hurrah, and she openly confessed that at 76 years old, her voice was regrettably a bit scratchy in places, and she worried for her audience at the final gig on the tour a week later, as they may have no voice to listen to. We first saw her at some point in the 1970s in Sheffield, so she knows no one anything in that department, having given full value for money and deserving the glitziest of medals for continuously fine performance over the last 50 years. Yes, on some numbers the higher notes were a bit of a struggle for her, but she had no difficulties at all when at her normal strong lower alto pitch. And in this excellent concert encore, where she stands in a solo spotlight to sing McCrimmon's Lament, all of her vocal strength across the range had returned as if by divine intervention. I've heard her sing this before, alas, no more, in person at least. I don't make a point of attending these Last Supper concerts, but I certainly made a point of seeing the Kinks on their last tour, and similarly Genesis, who played a memorably excellent set at the Newcastle Arena only recently. I think I was luckier than some who had bought tickets for other venues, only to find their concerts cancelled or rescheduled due to illness of band members. And fair to say that Phil Collins, who was seated for the entire 3 hours singing, was struggling physically, although his voice held up remarkably. So no revelation from Genesis then. But it takes a lot for full retirement to take hold, and even Elton John, Paul Simon and Billy Joel still talk about the possibilities of further concerts or recordings. I always liked Billy Joel's comment about why he had not released any albums since 1993, which was because he had fallen out with his lyricist. Joel writes his own lyrics, so that's as good a reason as any. No words, no songs, although a great last single released in 2024, which is called Turn the Lights Back On, in which he plays himself from over the last 50 years. Do take a look if you haven't seen it. I don't know how they do it. But not all of these vintage rockers have hung up their guitar straps quite yet. The Zombies, gigging since 1961 and still spearheaded by the evergreen Rod Argent and Colin Blunstone, spent most of 2023 crisscrossing the UK and North America on concert duty, as well as writing and recording new material. And even the Stones are still at it, with a new album and tour of North America booked for 2024. I understand that Bill Wyman, now a healthy and sprightly 87-year-old, was invited, but he said he had better things to do. And I'm sure you'll know of many others. And if you need any reminders about who has come and gone, there are websites which list these Last Suppers. Most will do it for the love of music and the fact they get paid more now for touring than from record sales. The age of streaming to blame here. Some do it as a result of financial pressures brought on by expensive divorces. But the fact remains, whatever their motivation, they have the skills and the memory to go out on stage and perform for hours on end. In some cases, I could say it's a miracle, knowing what substances may have passed through their bodies over the years. So full marks to all of them, and long may Those well into their 70s and even their 80s keep performing. They deserve every plaudit, and it certainly keeps them and us young at heart.